This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good looking friends. This week in the United States, Life and Style magazine has featured Prince George on its cover. We can guess who is screaming like a banshee out in Montecito. There is a definite growing interest here in the United States for the Waleses and their children. So let's take a look at what Life and Style had to say about the boy who will be king. In my opinion, I think Prince George is going to be one super heartthrob when he reaches his teenage years, just like how his father was back in the day. For a long time, Prince George had no idea he'd one day be a king. As far as we're concerned within our family unit, we're a normal family. Prince William explained of his and Princess Catherine's decision not to tell their firstborn, who was still a toddler at the time, about his destiny too early. There will be a time and a place to bring George up and understand how he fits in the world. But right now, it's just a case of keeping a secure, stable environment around him and showing as much love as I can as a father. Okay, let's pause for a second and talk about the Invisibles out in Montecito. In my humble opinion, Meghan and Harry have already inflicted a tremendous amount of psychological damage onto those so called children, whether they be via surrogacy or adopted or even rented. You have to acknowledge how bizarre their behavior has been, especially when they're off here and there, jet setting around the world, and nobody has seen them. In this day and age, when everyone has a cell phone that has a camera to it, you mean to tell me that not a single person has caught a glimpse of these two so called phantom kids? Now, over the last several days, the media has been doing this dance that they always do of will she, won't she? So now the reports that are coming out that Meghan is apprehensive about bringing the children over to the UK because she doesn't feel safe. Now, this is all about making a mountain out of a molehill, screaming, we're unsafe in the UK. This is why we need our IPP status back, because I can't feel safe to bring my children to their native land, blah, blah, blah. In my humble opinion, I believe that Meghan doesn't want to be bothered with toting to children that could feel that she's a stranger and being criticized by how they behave in public. I do believe that one of the fears that she does have is seeing that these children act up and her trying to handle it and not being able to do so effectively. And that's just going to out her as being a non involved parent that we all believe because she's never with her children. She never talks about them. Same thing with Harry. They don't seem like they spend time with them. There's no way that Meghan would chance the unpredictability of these two kids, especially Archie as he's getting older and can speak, in chancing him slipping and saying something that makes her look bad. There's no way that she would allow that. All of this is an excuse. Believe me, if she had the security, she would find something else to give a reason as to why she can't go. Could it be the real reason why Meghan doesn't want to bring those children to visit the UK is because the possibility or risk of not being able to bring those children back to California? Now, another angle that no one's talking about in why Meghan would make up an excuse not to go to the UK is, could it be that these children don't have proper paperwork to travel internationally? When we look at little Betty, no one has been able to find a valid birth certificate. So would Meghan risk her cover being blown of little Betty not being really named Little Betty and actually being hers? Come to think of it, like what records are going to be on file when these kids get enrolled in school? Or is Meghan planning on homeschooling them? Also, do these kids get to go to the dentist and the doctor? I mean, funny how no one's ever seen them about on the town. Maybe they go out about on the town with the nannies so nobody knows that they belong to Harry and Meghan. It's really all so bizarre, but let's get back to this article. William and Catherine have done their best to stick to that plan. However, with the death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022, as well as King Charles III and Catherine's cancer diagnoses this year, they've had to begin having some important conversations with George. The family's been through a lot of changes lately, and it's naturally led to conversations about George's future duties. They're helping him comprehend the situation better, explains a royal source, confirming that William, 41, and Catherine, 42, have sat the 10-year-old down to talk about succession and what it is and will it be expected of him. In contrast to William and Catherine, what will Meghan and Harry teach Archie? At some point, he's going to grow up and realize his parents denied him opportunity and a chance to know his very impressive family background. Imagine what it's going to be like for him when he goes to history class and they talk about the British Empire. Do you realize how warped his mind is going to be, especially since Meghan most likely is going to be filling it with all kinds of lies? Easing him in. It's been a delicate balance. William is torn, says the source. He's beginning to prepare George, but he still wants his son to have as carefree a childhood as he can, like his mother, the late Princess Diana, allowed him to do. Thankfully, adds the source, Catherine's great at knowing how to let George be a kid alongside his siblings, the Spares, Princess Charlotte, who turns 9 in May, and Prince Louis, who turns 6 in April. He isn't treated any differently around their house. Seeing how diluted these two are, I can honestly see them keeping up this farce by updating this AI generated photo as the years go on. These two are sick enough to do that. I mean, who could forget in the Netflix mockumentary, Meghan had 6 different Archies that were standing in for the so called real Archie. Like, who does that? Obviously, someone very sick. Though William once famously called baby George a right little rascal sometimes, his sweet boy has been growing up nicely. A few years ago, he began guitar lessons, Catherine revealed, and he was straight in there. William proudly said when the opportunity to help deliver lambs on a farm near their country home, Amner Hall, emerged a few years back. These days, he's enthralled by sports. He's attended championship soccer, rugby, and tennis games, and last fall, William was telling me how George has been doing triathlon at school. Retired world triathlon champion Non Stanford revealed. They are growing and trying out different sports. Catherine confirmed in 2023 of all 3 of her children. It's going to be interesting to see how that grows and develops. Learning the ropes. George is also learning many of the skills he'll need to be a working senior royal someday. He already has great manners and knows the proper protocol while in public with dignitaries, says the source. But George doesn't like all the traditional rules. He hates the bowing and formality. He rolls his eyes and thinks it's quite silly, yet he doesn't complain. Even amid her health crisis, Catherine and William have been helping George balance school with the extra lessons he started to need. And it's made them more grateful than ever that they bucked royal tradition and kept their little boy close. While Charles, 75, sent both of his sons, William and Prince Harry, 39, away to boarding school when they were just 8 in 2022. The Prince and the Princess of Wales instead enrolled their kids at the $30,000 a year co-ed Lambrook School near their new home in Windsor Castle Estate. As the Wales kids grow, one thing for sure is their popularity will also increase tenfold. This will most definitely send our Mad Duchess into a tailspin. As we've seen with William and Catherine, Meghan is going to spare no exception to those children and go after them with her dirty tactics as they grow to become much adored global leaders. My concern is what Meghan will do to Charlotte, as we know how much Meghan hates her already. Who can forget Meghan bullying her at 3 years old? It is something we definitely need to keep our eyes on as we're now seeing these puff pieces come out in the United States, such as this one by Life and Style. I'm for certain that Meghan is not behind this one, but there will come a time when Meghan will be behind one of these, and I am guessing it won't be pretty. Catherine's always wanted them to have more of a normal upbringing than William did, an insider previously told Life and Style, and didn't necessarily want them to follow every royal tradition. She knows the clock is ticking, though. In a few short years, George's life is going to drastically change as he takes on more responsibilities, says the insider, and Catherine thinks he should be out having fun, not living away from his family, at least until he's older. For now, says the first source, George is really just a regular kid who just so happens to be second in line to the throne. And there you have it, folks. I think William and Catherine are raising their children to be simply good human beings. This is what happens when the family unit is rock solid. This is the very thing that Meghan and her progressive degenerates want to destroy. It's a main reason why society has fallen here in the United States. Meghan and Harry represent everything that is wrong with the world today. But thank God, William and Catherine and their kids give us a glimmer of hope for our future generations. What do you guys think? Anyhow, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.